Hello! Alright guys, so this is my next corset video and it's going to be on the permanency of waist training. I've been receiving questions of this caliber almost every single day for the past month or so, so I thought it was finally time to make a video to address this so I don't have to keep answering the same questions over and over by email. So one question that I get a lot is, my waist is blank inches naturally, let's say 30 inches, how long will it take for me to get a waist of say 26 inches? And that really depends on the person. It depends on your squishiness factor, it depends on how big you are starting. A lot of very big girls are able to cinch down a lot more than smaller girls just because adipose tissue has a lot more squishiness, it's a lot more malleable than muscle tissue or organs, say. So that's why they might be able to put on a corset for the first time and cinch down 6 inches, whereas somebody who has, say, a 22, 23 inch waist starting out might only be able to cinch down 1 inch. I'm one of the lucky people who can actually cinch down by a rate of perhaps 1 inch a month. I have stopped waist training that much, which is why you don't see me with like an 18-inch waist or anything, but it does slow down. Like I mentioned in a previous video, I was able to cinch down 6 inches from a 28 waist to a 22 waist. But then at that point I kind of hit a plateau and I had to stop just because I was having problems with my corset and I needed to order a new one and everything. But that being said, not everybody is going to be able to waist train such that they are able to reduce another inch every month. They might only be able to reduce 1 inch every 6 months or 1 inch every year. It really depends on your body type. So don't force your body to be able to do that. That's the reason why whenever somebody asks me, how long will it take to get a waist of this reduction, I usually say, I don't know. It really depends on your body. I can't answer that for you. Another question I receive a lot is whether my waist pops back out again after I take off the corset. Yes, that crazy wasp waist you saw in my very first video, it doesn't look like that naturally, as you can plainly see right here. So I did actually achieve a little bit of a permanent reduction or a semi-permanent reduction. I went from a 28-inch waist to a 26-inch waist during my waist training process. So is permanent waist reduction possible with a corset? Absolutely, but you do have to work at it. In my own experiences, my natural waist was always 4 inches larger than my corseted waist. So if I was corseted at 23 inches, my natural waist was 27 inches. If I was corseted at 22 inches, my natural waist was 26 inches. I've also seen other people where they can corset to 17 inches and their natural waist would be more along the lines of 20 inches, 21 inches. So just from my own experiences and just from general observation, people's natural waists tend to be on average 4 to 6 inches larger than their corseted waist. That said, that's not true for everybody. That's just what I've observed in myself and in other people. It might be different for you. So as a general rule, I would say that you would probably have to corset more than a 4-inch reduction to be able to get a permanent change in your waist, or to be able to see a permanent change in your waist when you have your corset off. If you're corseting in such a way, like for instance, if you're wearing an hourglass corset that looks like this, it shapes around the ribs and then it goes back down again. That's only going to redistribute your organs and your fat pads and change the shape of your muscles. It's not going to change the shape of your bones. So you can achieve a semi-permanent waist reduction doing waist training that way and not affecting your bones. But like I said, it's only going to be semi-permanent. If, say, you get down from 26 to 24-inch waist naturally, and then you stop wearing your corset completely, and then you start eating badly and not exercising or anything, then your waist is going to expand again. That's just nature. However, you can change the shape of your body a little bit more permanently if you actually corset to change the shape of your ribs instead of only your muscles and organs and fat pads. So in that situation, you have to corset very slowly and carefully because you don't want to risk any dislocations or fractures in your ribs. In that situation, instead of having a modern hourglass figure which kind of hugs your ribs like this, you would probably need something more of a conical shape that actually compresses your ribs as opposed to just hugging around them. Your floating ribs at the bottom, they're rather flexible. They can go in and out quite easily, so it will take a long time for you to actually compress them in. And of course, you know, once you're getting kind of higher up in your ribs, the ones that are attached to your sternum, those aren't floating anymore, right? So those are going to take a lot of work to be able to compress them in permanently. But I'm going to say it again. You need to take your time while doing this. For some people, it might take a year to have their ribs changed. For some people, it might take several years. But all the same, bones take a lot of time and a lot of effort to be able to change its shape. So it's something that you really don't want to rush. If you feel any sort of discomfort at all, you need to loosen up and just go more slowly. Also, I cannot guarantee that your rib cage will stay in that reduced circumference for the rest of your life. Let's say that you corset for 5 or 10 years between the ages of 20 and 30 years old. I can't guarantee that you will have the same circumference of your rib cage when you're 70 years old. Of course, when you see skeletal structures from women from the Victorian era, for instance, you will see that they did have deformed ribs, they did have a reduced rib cage circumference, but you have to understand those women corseted their entire lives with the exception of, you know, the last trimester of their pregnancy. So obviously when you're pregnant, you know, the baby pushes out on your ribs, so that's going to increase your circumference. So even then, I can't really say that the change in your skeletal structure is going to be permanent. One thing you can do, however, to maintain a small waist both in and out of the corset is something called maintenance corseting. This was a term that I'd never even heard of until I came across it on romantasy.com, where Anne Grogan used it to describe how people maintain their trim waist after they've finished their actual corset training to get to a certain reduction. So let's say I corseted down from a natural 30-inch waist to a natural 25-inch waist, and I want to keep my natural 25-inch waist. And let's say to have a 25-inch waist out of the corset, I would have to corset 21 or 22 inches in the corset. Well, after I've finished my very diligent training of, you know, wearing my corset, say 14 or 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, after that, I don't have to train so hard anymore. So let's compare this to maintenance exercise. When you want to lose weight, you might exercise, say, for 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. When you've reached your goal weight, you don't have to work that hard anymore. You might only have to exercise for half an hour a day, 6 days a week, or you might exercise for an hour a day, maybe 3 to 4 days a week. So it's the same way with waist training. When you want to reduce your waist, you might have to wear your corset 8 hours a day, 16 hours a day. Some people wear it, 23 hours a day if they're very disciplined with it, and they might wear it 6 or 7 days a week. Once you actually reach your goal reduction, you don't have to work that hard anymore. You might only have to wear your corset for, say, 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, or you might only wear your corset every other day. So you don't have to work that hard to maintain your waist. You would have to work a little bit harder if you wanted to keep reducing. Of course, you will also have to work harder if you are gaining weight at the same time as you're reducing your waist, or if you're getting a little bit older and that middle age spread starts to happen, you will have to work a little harder, but it will never be as hard as that initial run for getting your waist from, say, the 30 inches down to the 25 inches naturally. But just like everybody's weight and girth and metabolism is different to everybody else's, I can't guarantee that my personal waist training regimen would work for you. You might need a little bit more, you might need a little bit less. It's the same for maintenance corseting. I don't know how much maintenance you're actually going to need to be able to maintain that. So it's really up to you. You need to, first of all, go slowly, and then you need to listen to your body. If your body isn't responding, you might need to go a little bit tighter. If you're feeling any sort of discomfort or pain whatsoever, you need to loosen up. That's the smartest advice I can possibly give to you guys, because I can't look into every single one of your bodies and see what works best for you. So, I mean, I can tell you what's been successful for me, but that's the best I can do. That said, I think I've covered the most common questions, the one that I receive most frequently. If I missed any that are related to maintenance corseting or permanency of waist training, post them below. It would be a lot easier to have them all where everybody can see it publicly, as opposed to writing me messages, because then I can post the answers so that everybody can see. So I hope this helped for all of you guys, and until next time, happy corseting. Bye.